So, in preparation for tomorrow's live talk on sibling estrangement, a couple things for you to think about. In my case, it divided further relationships with family members that chose to stay out of it and not pick a side, as opposed to saying, you dead wrong for this, you're dead wrong for that, and you need to really go in your prayer closet and work on some things, meditate, do some yoga, but talk to your higher power seriously. The other thing that happened, and had that does happen frequently when adult siblings fall out to the point of um, sometimes no return, is that it affects any children that may now be adults that grew up within this nucleus, right? Um, and it does. And so just know that this is another form of trauma. And for those kids, those children, if they grew up with cousins of the person now who is out of communication, um, it affects them too. And the only place I don't see this happening, not as deeply, it happens with cousins sometimes as adults. But if someone is an only child, that is the only thing that will save you from what can happen when adult siblings are estranged. And if this is you, and because we in the Black community we carry another source of shame. Um, if you are the person that has been lied on, people may back away again because they just don't want to get involved, but they do so oftentimes listening to only one side of the story. And so the person that isn't coming forth and saying this is BS, or reaching out to people directly, I do it through social media, through authoring books and essays, because this has affected my family on a personal level. And so, honestly, the way I see it is that I am on one side with my adult children, and everybody else is over there with my sibling. Now, um, I already knew that there were issues with my sexuality. Although I'm in my 11th year of intentional celibacy, they know what they were told when I came out late in life for a lot of women, but I was in my 30s and I had um, a 10 and a 12-year-old from a marriage with a man who I don't have a problem with today. I've had problems with him um, while they were minors, but not now. And I actually thank him for just holding everything down while I was going through this grief and loss period that lasted over 10 years. He is a wonderful grandfather, and he was always a good father in terms of taking care of his responsibilities. Um, our issues were around other things, but he never missed a child support payment or getting his kids every other weekend and on holidays. And we split the holidays, and then we would split the summer and school vacations. So um, he is a wonderful grandfather. But we really want to use this time tomorrow to address how you all are managing and coping if you were the one lied on. because like in my family with my mother's passing, um, a lot of things happen when people pass, and so that already excruciating grief and loss period can be extended indefinitely, because you have to process a lot of things. And this also takes me to my point about making sure that you have the conversation with your parents. Like, don't put it off. It is absolutely uncomfortable, but it needs to happen because you want people on the same page, particularly if you are not an only child, meaning that there is someone else, and it needs to be all parties that have responsibility, or let's say concerned parties with a concerned interest, um, should be on the same page to avoid a lot of things. And what my parents did not do was that they did not have a living will, which the way that works, as I understand it, is that if one person contests, they just get taken out the pot. Like, this is the way it's written, this is what's going down, these are my final wishes, and they will be honored, or you'll get nothing. So the conversation needs to be had. A regular will, which is what my parents had, and they had it because my sibling was the director of a law center and drove them separately to have their wills prepared, in addition to her being an attorney and an MBA accountant. So you do the math. I already have. So she knew what to contest, how to contest it without there being a living will. Premeditated much. Um, and she helped herself to everything pretty much that was left for me, my children, and at that time my grandchildren that were born. Um, I seek no reconciliation after 11 years. It is what it is, but I do talk about it. I write about it. I don't want anybody else to go through this. It was absolute hell. Um, because then I, over time had to grieve not only the loss of my father, my mother, my angel grandbaby, but also my sibling who still walks on this plane. But it's done. It's done. And there are people who I believed loved my mother who were just fake. And what I won't do as I get ready to exit my 50s is be a fake person in my 60s and 70s under the guise of love, under the guise of friendship, under the guise of um, community leader and sisterhood and all of this. I'm telling you, everybody got some trauma that they've gone through, and not everybody has gotten the help for it. And some people carry that forth um, until they leave this earth. And I just refuse for that to be me. Even though our family has been torn apart, even though I have no plans to ever speak to my sibling again and hope not to see her, because I don't want to spend my last days in prison. And it is on site. It's very clear about that. It's on site. Um, so I believe that this is a conversation that needs to be had. I believe that we need to, um, have some space, because we don't. People don't want to hear about it. People don't. They don't want to hear about it. And if they might want to hear what you're saying, and they know your sibling or siblings that are involved, they, just had to bow out. It's just too much for them because it's messy, it's funky, it's ugly, it's nasty, it's selfish, it's everything that your parents probably would just, roll over about, because that is not what it's about. Essentially, you can't get them back. And it's the disrespect to their legacy that I hope that you find the strength, if you haven't, instead of just saying, forget it. I spent 18 months going back and forth to probate court between California, where I was living, and Michigan, where my mother resided. And in my case, the references that have been made speak to my being queer, which makes it a hate crime. Now, I may never get my voice heard in a court of law, but as long as social media exists, as long as I can write, I'm going to share this story. Have the conversation with your parents. Have the conversation with your parents. It's hard. Nobody wants to do that. Talk about you leaving here. To protect them and their assets, you do that. To protect their good name, you do that. After my mother passed, the police were called to her suburban home 9 times. The police never graced her doorstep while she was alive. Her good name. Her good name. Yeah. Let's talk tomorrow, 3 p.m. PST. CImaniWilliams, Facebook Live. Wait, I don't like the way that came out. Let me clarify. There are people, relatives, and close family friends that we grew up with that I assume are friends of hers because we don't talk, or we haven't talked since my mother's passing. And there are people who kind of said, Imani, I'm with you. That is just wrong. And then there are people that were privy to the lies that were put out. Like, I was 110 pounds the day of my mother's homegoing service. I could not eat. When she lost her voice box, I couldn't eat. I just couldn't eat. I got sick to my stomach. And I lost a rapid amount of weight in a very short amount of time. And with Black people, if you lose weight, you're on drugs. So I understand from people that love me and care about me that was what was being said. Well, she lesbian. Actually, I'm bi and celibate. She's a lesbian and she must be on crack. She lost all that weight. And so I wonder what they say when they see my full figure photos on social media, on Facebook, because I clearly gained it back. Didn't come back until COVID, though. But yeah, I kept it off for a long time. I was in, now 110 was too small, but when I got back up to a good 6 instead of a 2, and then an 8, eight is perfect for me, and I'm way over that right now. So we're working on that. So there may be a different Imani next year. Anyway, so when lies are being told, people tend to go to one side or the other with who they choose to believe or what they choose to hear. Right? That's part of what we do when we look at in sociology, in and out groups. We label people, we place them in groups, and then we treat them accordingly. And so it's many people, just they don't talk to me. Many don't talk to my adult children, and they don't know my grandbabies like my sibling does not know my grandbabies. Um, Certainly not the last three, and maybe not the oldest. Yeah, yeah. And so it just gets so heavy, y'all. But that is a big component of Black mental health, our familial connections, and how that goes out to our, our community of loved ones and friends, right? And generationally speaking, the trauma that comes with sibling estrangement sometimes, um, it disconnects you from elders as well. Because I really just cannot believe the way um, some have acted. And I came back to clarify what when I said that I don't talk to my family. I talk to very few people in my family, very few, and that's on both sides. And on my mother's side is so much smaller in terms of those, people that I was closest to. Um, I wish them well. What else can I say? They clearly made a choice, and that I have to be fine with that. And to those of you who I am in contact with, I love you. Thank you just for, being your beautiful, real, supportive selves.